I don't know about you, but I'm getting sick and tired of Scott Frost. The former Husker head coach took another massive shot at Nebraska today, disrespecting the fan base, the program, the team, and so much more. So in today's video, we're going to react to everything that he said. Was it valid? Was it not? And everything else you need to know about this developing story. But not only that, Cincinnati's head coach had a couple interesting nuggets about the Huskers before our season opening matchup. We'll react to what he said. And then last but not least, Nebraska, quietly behind the scenes, they're working hard to flip a brand new, talented four-star defensive tackle who recently decommitted from Oregon. I'm going to introduce you to who he is, what he brings to the table, and everything you need to know about his crazy situation. So really quick, this video is jam-packed. Hey, if you're having a good day, I know I am, hit that like button. And also, if you're a diehard Nebraska fan and you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for daily content, talking your favorite team, talking Huskers? It's a no-brainer. It takes 2 seconds. Hit that subscribe button. Join the family. Thank you so much. But without further ado, let's get into it. We have a lot to talk about, and I want to get things started with none other than Mr. Scott Frost, our old friend. He was at Big 12 Media Days today, representing, of course, UCF, and he was asked about Nebraska, what went wrong in Lincoln, and I want to get things started with the first quote. So, again, he was asked what he learned most at Nebraska, and he said, and I quote, "Don't take the wrong job." What are we doing here, Scott Frost? Okay, you were asked what you learned the most from Nebraska. It was a complete failure. You could have said, I need to recruit harder. I need to game plan harder. I did a lot of things wrong. You could have just put all the blame on yourself and said, you know what? I learned as a coach, and I'm going to be a lot better at UCF. Instead, he said, don't take the wrong job. He's deflecting all of the blame right off the very bat. He's saying, you know what? I wasn't successful in Nebraska because it was Nebraska's fault, not mine. That's what he's saying right here. So that was the first quote, which is disrespectful in and of its own, but he doubled down on it. That's what made it worse. Okay. The second thing that Scott Frost said, he said, I would not leave Central Florida unless it was for some place you can win a national championship. I got tugged in a direction to try to help my alma mater, and I didn't really want to do it. It wasn't a good move. I'm lucky to get back to a place where I was a lot happier. Again, deflecting the blame. He said he didn't want to come to Nebraska in this quote. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, Scott Frost? Do we want to pull up the clips from the 2018 press conference when you got hired here? What you were saying, you said it was a dream come true to come back home, that this was the place I always wanted to be. And now you're saying years and years later that you never wanted to come to Nebraska? That's not true at all. That's not true. And the reason why you took this job is because this was the place you wanted to be. And you thought you could bring us back to national relevance. You thought you could win a national championship here. You did not think that was going to happen at Central Florida. Simply put, because you went 12-0 that year and you guys didn't even make the playoff. You felt like at Nebraska, you had an opportunity to go compete for NAS every year. So don't act like you didn't want to come here, like you were forced against your own will. You failed because of your mistakes and your issues. And again, you got fired 3 years ago. You could sit here at this Big 12 Media Day and say, I respect Nebraska. I'm sorry it didn't work out. I've developed myself as a person and a coach ever since then. And I'm going to hit the ground running at UCF. And we're going to do what we did back, in 2016, 2017. That's exactly what he could have said. But he said, you know what? No, I never wanted to go to Nebraska. Nebraska was a toxic environment and it was impossible for me to succeed. That's basically what he's telling you, everybody. He's saying the fan base, they put a lot of pressure on me. There was a toxic administration and it just wasn't my fault that I wasn't successful. That's what Scott Frost is telling you, everybody. Again, that's just crazy to me with how much of a failure he was. He didn't make a single bowl game. He had a 3-9 season in year 4. He got fired after 3 games in 2022. He was one of the worst coaches in the history of Nebraska football, if not the worst coach in the history of Nebraska football. And he had such a long leash. He should have been fired after year 3. I'm tired of it, man. Again, he's had multiple opportunities to say, you know what? It was my bot. I didn't do a good enough job. He could have said that when he got hired at UCF. He could have said that now. Instead, every single time talks about Nebraska because I don't want to talk about my former job, but I didn't want to be there. I always wanted to be back at UCF. Bull crap. Bull crap. If you wanted to stay at UCF, you would have wanted to stay there the entire time. But the second you had an opportunity to run to Nebraska, that's exactly what you did. You didn't even hesitate. You signed that paper. You signed that contract immediately. The second we offered it, you said, I'm going back immediately because I don't want to be at UCF. So grass is always greener. Look at hindsight, right? I don't know. Again, I'm not a Scott Frost hater. I told you guys when he got hired at UCF, I'm rooting for him. I'm wishing him the best of luck. Like, I genuinely am. I kind of want him to succeed. I'm not a guy who really, wishes the worst on people. Like, I'm hoping he does well there. But you can't continue to disrespect us like this, man. You put our program through so much hell. You were one of the worst coaches in the history of this program. After all the expectations, you fell short in so many aspects. You did all the things off the field that you did that we don't want to get into. That's okay. I forgave you for all of it. Okay? The paper's clean. I'm wishing you the best of luck, but please stop disrespecting our program, especially to these media members. It's a bad look for you and it's a bad look for us. Okay. Just admit, hey, I didn't do that good of a job. It is what it is. I wanted to succeed, but I've learned from it and we're going to hit the ground running at UCF. That's what you could have said the entire time. Said you doubled down saying that it wasn't a good move and you were a lot happier at UCF. Lies. So I'm mad about that. It is what it is. Again, still wish them the best of luck, but don't talk about Nebraska anymore. Okay. It's over. And if you do talk about us, take some blame because you were the reason you weren't successful. It wasn't because of anybody else. It was because of you. So that's what Scott Frost said. All right, I want to get to some other nuggets that dropped recently. I posted this on Twitter. It's the LeBron meme. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing, Scott Frost? So I thought that Scott Satterfield had something interesting to say about Nebraska. Of course, this is Cincinnati's head coach. He said, and I quote, "We are looking forward to opening things up on a Thursday night on ESPN at Arrowhead. Coach Rule has done a great job at rebuilding Nebraska. It's the first game of the season. We aren't playing an FCS school to start the year. We have to be hitting on all cylinders when you open the season with a team like Nebraska. There's already a little sense of urgency within our building in terms of preparation for this game. There's going to be a lot of red in that stadium." So this is exactly what you say when you're talking about another program. So Scott Frost, take notes, right? When you're talking about a different program, you give them a lot of respect. And that's exactly what Scott Satterfield said. He said, Nebraska's a heck of a team. There's a lot of urgency inside our building to start preparation. So I'm actually kind of surprised they haven't started preparation. Maybe he didn't mean that, but I'm sure they are prepared for that Nebraska game. So Cincinnati's going to be a tough one. Again, that's a team that I don't believe is very good. They're not really going to be mixed for anything. They're going to be trying to make a bowl game. Nebraska should win by, my opinion, double digits, but don't sell them short. They're going to go out there and play it like it's their Super Bowl. So we got to go out there and compete. But that was a very respectful comment by Mr. Coach Satterfield over there. And then last but not least, we got an interesting nugget today that recent decommit Viliami Moala from Oregon, Nebraska, they've been trying to flip him for some time. He just decommitted from Oregon yesterday, and the Huskers are one of the schools to watch. So this is a 4-star according to Rivals and On3. He's almost a top 200 player in America. He's somebody who's 6'3", about 300 pounds, is a big bruising Polynesian nose tackle. But again, it was just reported at On3 that these are the 6 schools who are trying to flip him away from Oregon. Nebraska's the main school here. You got Miami, you got North Carolina, who we'll talk about in a second. You got Utah, Cal, and the last but not least, Florida. So his situation is very interesting. He was a USC commit originally. They went over to Oregon, just decommitted. Now Nebraska likely going to be in the mix there. But there's some murmurs behind the scenes. We know Nebraska is very desperate at defensive line, and if they don't give out him Sony, they're pretty much screwed. So it's not shocking that they're going after him. Nebraska never even formally offered him until now. So it kind of tells you they're a little bit desperate, but expect Nebraska to move here quickly, potentially get him on a visit. We know the Polynesian pipeline, we're trying to build that back. It's been very successful so far. But the interesting thing about Viliami Moala, when I was reading about him, is that UNC probably right now is the team to beat. North Carolina. The reason is they made one of the most interesting recruiting pitches I've ever heard. So Moala's dad is not currently in the United States for whatever reason. He hasn't been in the United States for a while now. And the deal that North Carolina made to him and his family was that if you commit at North Carolina, we're going to work hard to bring your dad back to the United States. I've never heard that recruiting pitch before. That's the rumor right now on the UNC board. So that's why North Carolina is arguably the team to beat, because they say, hey, if you commit here, we're going to find a way to bring your dad back to the United States. So I've never heard a recruiting pitch like that in my entire life. Not gonna lie to you. So that's really interesting. But Nebraska's kind of doing a similar thing with Valden-Sony's family. They were trying to pitch that Valden-Sony's family could get immigration status in Nebraska, or not Nebraska, to the United States, because right now they're stuck in Sweden. So Nebraska's trying to do that with 2 defensive tackle prospects. Maybe they should try to get his dad as well. So this is a guy who I'd watch out for. He's a bruising Polynesian nose tackle, could play 3-tech as well. You get 4-star according to a lot of recruiting sites. So just watch out for this name. Nebraska is involved according to all of these sites. They reached out to him the second he decommitted. Just kind of tells you we're desperate. Like, I use that word very sparingly, but Nebraska, they are desperate at the defensive line. They just are. They're very, very desperate. They need somebody. So this is somebody who, again, if it comes out of money, at some point, Nebraska's going to pony up, and I think they're probably going to offer him a good package. So watch out for that name. All right, guys. That's it. Hope you guys have a great day. Let me know your thoughts down below about everything. Hey, if you made it this far, you know what to do. Hit that like button and subscribe. As always, folks, go big red, go Met Rule, and I'll see you in the next one.